Welcome to the LDN Radio Show, brought to you by the LDN Research Trust. I'm your host, Linda Elsiegood. I have an exciting lineup of guest speakers who are LDN experts in their field. We will be discussing low-dose naltrexone and its many uses in autoimmune diseases, cancers, etc. Thank you for joining us. Today I'd like to welcome our guest, Michelle Kryl. She's from Arizona in the US, and she's a physician's assistant. Thank you for joining us today, Michelle.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
So tell us about you. What made you decide that you wanted to help people?
Yeah, so I started, I'm a physician assistant. I've been practicing for about 9 years now, going on 9 years. It was always kind of a passion, thought about doing a school teacher. This wasn't my thing. So both my sisters are teachers, and I knew I had a love for medicine, helping people. So I just kind of jumped in and went for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
And yep,
carry on.
Yep. So I started my career in urgent care setting. So for about eight years, spent most of my time in urgent care. And then just recently, this last year, I opened up my own integrative health practice. So it's always been near and dear to my heart, just kind of off-label uses, looking a little bit further than what's offered in our regular practice. And so, yeah, in order to do that, I kind of had to venture out on my own, and I'm loving it.
So many doctors treat symptoms rather than find the root cause, which then eliminates those symptoms anyway, doesn't it? So
100%.
people like yourself who work out complex conditions where people have been to numerous doctors and haven't got anywhere. So, thank you for what you do for helping these people.
Thank you. Thank you.
So you started your practice. Tell us about your practice.
Yeah, so really it's integrative health is what I call it, but do a little bit of everything. So whether it's taking a general look at somebody, really whether they have complaints or not. My biggest thing is to just kind of optimize their health. I think we get in a rut where we accept being tired during the day, where we accept not sleeping well, we accept, gaining extra weight. We accept these things that really, when we take a deep dive into our overall health, we can see things aren't being optimized. Are we really getting the sleep we need? Is our thyroid functioning like it should? What about our hormones? And so each person's unique. I treat them just like that, so what I do for one person might be completely different for another. I like patients to also play a big part in their decision making. So, if somebody does have, say, thyroid issues, do you want mainstream medication, or do we want to try iodine, or, it's a T3 or desiccated thyroid, something different. So I like them to be able to choose, and it's been really successful. I mean, I love when I see my patients, they're happy. They're like, oh my gosh, I didn't know I could feel like this. I'm hiking 3 times a week now, or oh my gosh, I just love it. I'm happy all the time. I'm in less pain. And so it's very rewarding.
And you prescribe LDN as well?
I do. So that is near and dear to my heart, which I'll get into that too. But really, a lot of my patients, they know me. I share my story, my personal story with LDN. And if they're not against it, I say go ahead and start it right from the jump. Because what I find is a lot of times the things that people might have a complaint about, whether it's not sleeping good, just not feeling good overall. Once you start on it, all of a sudden they're like, oh my gosh. I mean, it's a slow, steady. They're like, I'm having better days. I don't even know why. I don't know when it happened. And and I have people do a questionnaire, and then, 3-month follow-up, I realize they're not marking anymore that they're fatigued during the day. They're not marking, that they're depressed. They're not marking, some of these things. And so it's beneficial to kind of start with LDN. That way you're not correcting the thyroid, you're not doing these other things, and then start on LDN which then goes and corrects everything. And then you're just rejuggling everything else that you did. So it's kind of, I really like to start people on it and then reevaluate in 3 months when they're at their ideal dose and say, okay, now what are the issues, or concerns? What do we want to address? And I do find a lot of times the first time before starting LDN, those aren't the same complaints they have 3 months later. So really, I love if they're open to it. And most people are. They, I don't know what it is, tell me about it. I share my story and I love it. And it's some people, very few, say, I really don't feel anything, and I say, okay, we can stop it. And then, no, nope, I still want to take it. So yeah, I love it. I think everybody should be on it as long as it's not contraindicated, they're not on pain medication or something. I think everybody's benefited from it in one way or another.
So would you say that your patients, when they've finally found you, are taking a lot of other medications and that you can actually get them off some once they get further down the road with you?
100%. Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's a conversation we have, are you like, what are your goals? And sometimes maybe they were prescribed an antidepressant, and they don't know why their doctor put them on it. They were feeling fatigued or a little down, and then I say, well, let's look at your hormones. You have no estrogen going through your body, you have no testosterone, you're walking around like a 85-year-old lady, and you're 51, and so we start correcting that. And then they're like, I don't think I ever needed the antidepressant. I'm not even depressed. I feel great. So just looking at the medications and kind of saying which ones do we want to eliminate, which ones help you. And honestly, half the time they don't know why they're taking them. I don't know. My doctor put me on it. Okay. So yeah. So yeah, that's a big goal of also helping them understand what the goals are, why they're taking certain medications or supplements, and what exactly it's treating. Low dose naltrexone is kind of the wild card. That's why I say start on it right from the get-go and just kind of see what it does. So everybody I really feel a different experience. I'd say 90%, they're a positive experience. The 10%, I would say really just don't feel it does anything one way or another.
Mm-hmm. And you keep referring to your story. Could you tell us your story?
Yes. So I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis back in about 2009. I grew up in a family where my dad's Czech. And so it kind of, you had hot tea and red hots or lemon or some kind of herbs when you were sick. I don't think I ever took an antibiotic. We never went to the doctor. So always kind of had an open mind approach, only take medicine if you really, really need it. But I was diagnosed. It took about 2 years to actually have the diagnosis. And I was started off on Copaxone, which is a daily injection. And so I did that for about a month and had allergic reaction. I had marks everywhere. And during that time was when I felt really the worst. My hands weren't opening. I was off balance. I slept all day. And so I was real frustrated that I'm giving myself daily injections. I'm not feeling better at all, and I was told, well, it's not really going to help you. It's just going to, decrease kind of the amount of attacks you might have later on, and so I stopped that and I was blessed to find a integrative primary care practitioner. And she told me just kind of like I practice, do you want to do the MS medication? Because if so, you do need to get that from a neurologist, or we can try a different approach. And I said, let's try a different approach. I feel miserable. It's done nothing. She introduced me to low dose naltrexone. And she gave me the whole spiel. People aren't going to understand what it is. Your neurologist isn't going to like it. And I said, let's do it. And so she did that. And I think high vitamin D, B12, and gave me some progesterone to protect my myelin sheath. And boy, before I even got to the top dose, maybe 3 weeks in, I wasn't taking naps during the day. I was able to open my hands. I was feeling good. Really, it's like all the symptoms just kind of went away. And I had my follow-up with the neurologist and I told him, hey, I don't think I need medicine. I took this low dose naltrexone. I'm feeling great, and And he said, no, it's just coincidence. It wouldn't really do that for you. It just, you have relapsing remitting MS. It was just a flare that went away during that time. And I said, okay, well, I still don't want to take any MS medication. And from then on, I just stuck with her and took the low dose naltrexone. So from today, it's been about 15 years. That's the only thing I ever took for my MS. With that, I did great. I did full-time in a community college while doing full-time at a university. I had a teenage son. I was a single mother. And I killed it. I had great grades. I fared very well. My pains were gone. And that did really well till about 2020-ish. Then my leg kind of started. I was working in the I made it all the way through PA school too, but I was working in urgent care, 12-hour shifts, and I think it just kind of started wearing on me. And my left leg was giving up on me, and some MS symptoms were starting to kind of affect my life at that point. So I still stayed on the low dose naltrexone. I found a HCT, hematopoietic stem cell transplant out of the country, and in 2020 had that done within a month that I found the group, or maybe 2 months later. And during then, the hematologist was familiar with low dose naltrexone. He came from the Mayo Clinic, Dr. Ruiz, and he said, keep taking it all the way through the treatment. So you go through rounds and rounds of chemo, everything. So for the whole 30 days while we were there and undergoing everything, he still had me taking the low dose naltrexone, and I wouldn't be where I am today. A group of 16 people, all of them had been on MS medication. And by far, I was one of the people that had it the longest, and I was doing 5 times better than almost anybody there. So I really say it was, and through chemo, I really question, I would love to see more research on somebody taking low dose naltrexone throughout chemo. Because I even told the doctor, I don't need steroids. I don't need nausea medication. I'm not nauseous. I got done. Maybe I'd eat a bowl of Fruity Pebbles. Didn't feel like eating a real meal, but he said, then that's okay. Don't take it. Other people are throwing up, weak. And I really question if that made a big difference during that time. So,
We do have many oncologists that say to take LDN while you're having chemo, radiation, just to continue taking
yeah.
it. So
Okay.
I obviously
Yeah.
think the same as you do.
Yeah. People would see me. We were in the same group. So you saw each other daily and at dinner, and everyone say, it's not even phasing you. I'm like, I know, like I'm doing good. My M&Ms and Fruity Pebbles, and
Mhm.
I was just kind of trucked right through it. I think if anything, it drove me crazy having to sit there for 3 hours, but otherwise, yeah, I was fine. I didn't need any medication for nausea. And I really feel like the low dose naltrexone helped.
Mhm. Oh, definitely. I've got MS, and it's the only drug that I take. I was
Oh, okay.
diagnosed in 2000 and 2000, yeah. And I was relapsing, remitting, and kept having relapses. And then by the time 2003 came, I was told I was secondary progressive. And then I was told nothing more could be done for me. Not that I was actually on Rebif for 8 months, and my liver function tests were in the red. But anyway, I had to stop it. I had terrible side effects, and I felt far worse on it, like you did. And after COVID, the neurologist had a new neurologist who didn't think that I had MS. And I had another MRI, which I'd wanted because I wanted to be able to see the difference, the change.
Sure.
Then I was told that, oh, it was an old machine, this is a new machine, and you can't judge apples with pears. And I'm thinking, no, but I just want to see the lesions to see, if they've, but anyway, apparently you couldn't do it. And the outcome of that was, in the end, because they did the MRI, it was inconclusive. Then I had an MRI with contrast, and then I was told that I was a primary progressive MS. So
Okay.
ask me how that that works. But anyway, the neurologist, it was a new neurologist, and he said he didn't need to see me anymore, and he was taking me off his books, and I no longer had a neurologist. But if I should become ill, he would talk to my GP over the phone. But I thought, well, saves me the bother of going.
Right. Yeah, I love it. After, you know, and I went to the Mayo Clinic, but the guy did tell me kind of the same thing. If you're not willing to do MS medication, I don't think there's anything I can do for you. And I said, I agree. I think my, you know, primary care can order my MRI, and I don't need you. I'm doing fine. And he actually had MS, and he would question me, well, why exactly are you just like so adamant about the low dose naltrexone, you know? And I would tell him he walked with a cane, you know, and I said, you really should give it a try. And he's like, yeah, but I've only read it just helps you, you know, with your daily, you know, activities and, you know, but it doesn't help. And I said, I beg to differ. You know, I'm in school full time, taking 24 credits. I'm thinking I don't need naps. I've got a teenage son. I work full time. I'm killing it, you know, and where I was when this started was not there. I mean, I thought I was going to be bedridden, you know, and wouldn't even make it through one class, you know. So, but he was curious, and I question to this day, I wonder if he ever did try it, you know.
I think it's sad when I have young girls contact me and want to know all about LDN, and they ask all their questions, and they say, yeah, that's something I'd like to try, but further down the road when I'm sick and need it. So I'm trying to say, but if you take it now, chances are you might not get sick. You know, keep the health you've got now, protect that. You know,
Absolutely,
it's
100%.
it's everybody's decision and choice. You know, we're not dictating to people what they should and shouldn't do, but I feel I wouldn't have gone so downhill had I have known about LDN, but it wasn't as widely known 20 years ago as it is now.
Sure, sure. Yeah, I'm so grateful for the provider I just happened to run into, and it was the first month I was diagnosed. So, I
Wow.
mean, yeah, so I was able to get it right on it right at the beginning.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when a patient, let's stick with MS, when an MS patient comes to you, what's the steps you take to put together a roadmap?
So I only have one MS patient that I've had because my practice is fairly new. She is already on, I think, Octrevius infusions. However, she's a friend, so I already 2 years ago or something, I was in the urgent care setting, so I didn't have kind of the authority to prescribe low dose naltrexone at that point. I'm kind of out of my scope of practice being in urgent care. But I told her, ask your endocrinologist or, you know, your MS doctor, any of them to give you low dose naltrexone. And she called me after one of her appointments, and he said, yeah. He said he takes it, his wife takes it. He doesn't offer it to patients, but since I asked, absolutely. So she started on it about 2.5 years ago. But that is one where we talk about, you know, decreasing the amount of medication too. So she is a patient of mine, and see her pretty regularly and follow up with her. And we've been able to knock off 2/3 of the medications she was on, just by doing different stuff and optimizing health. And she's doing great. She's doing great. So
But for your body to take in less medication, that in itself has got to be good, hasn't it?
100%, 100%.
And people with fibromyalgia, I know I'm swapping conditions here, but some of them are taking 14, 16 different medications a day. But once they started having one medication, 2, 3, then you have potential to get the side effects. But then
100%.
they take the next medication and they get side effects. But it doesn't matter because they're giving another medication to combat the side effects. And as it goes up, they're taking maybe by the time they get to like 16 medications, 3 of those are to combat side effects from the medication.
100%.
And
100%.
scary, isn't it?
It is 100%. Who is it? I think it's Dr. James Laville, Alville. In a search, I believe it was him. He has a whole list, and it's in one of his books too, of different medications and what some of their silent side effects are. If you look at statins or, stuff that people take, the PPIs for heartburn, stuff like that, it's blocking your uptake of B12. It's blocking all these things that your body needs. So you are feeling, sorry for the noise, it's a truck, so hopefully they'll be gone quick. So yeah, then you are feeling fatigued, whether you know it or not. Maybe you're not having nausea just from that medication, but you're not feeling your best because it is blocking a lot of that uptake. So yeah, I like people just to know, really sit down. Why are you taking it? Is it helping you? Is this one that you want to continue? Here's other options we can try,
Mm-hmm. So tell us your website, how people can contact you. I know you said you're relatively new. Do you have a long waiting list?
Yes. So it's Allure, ALLURE, medical, AZ for Arizona.com. On there as well, I have a whole section on Dose Naltrexone. Kind of share my story, what it does, little brief summary, and then I have a link to the website, which I recommend everybody going on. I always tell people, go there, plan on sitting there for a little while, make yourself some tea, use that search button and put it in there, put in fatigue, put in MS, put in everybody knows somebody, or themselves that struggle with something. And I love looking at the research papers. So yeah, it's a great website, great resource to have. Also the books. I love the books. So full of information. They're well written for anybody to read. So, and those are the LDN books. So I highly recommend people grabbing that too. You don't have to have a ton of medical knowledge to understand. They really make it clear. And I love how they use different, the key to the door, what fits, the analogies, to make it easy for people to understand.
And of course, we've got coming out next week, the 20th anniversary book, New Horizons, which is, if I'd have found a book like that when I was looking for solutions to read other people's MS stories, that would have just been amazing. It's just full of testimonials from prescribers, researchers, pharmacists, and patients for many different conditions. So I'm hoping that everybody will buy that book who has something wrong with them and they're looking for answers. That'd be great. Well, thank you very much for sharing your experience with us today, and good luck with your practice. Wish you all the best.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Any questions or comments you may have, please email me, Linda, Linda, at ldnrt.org. I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you for joining us today. We really appreciated your company. Until next time, stay safe and keep well.